Hello bearded bee people, welcome back to the B&K Bees channel. I said I wasn't going to do more astronomy videos and I lied. I'm ruining my dark eyes by turning that flash on, or that flashlight I guess it would be rather called when you're taking video, but either way, I figured I'd talk to those of you that either have a telescope and don't really use it, or those of you that would like to get a telescope or are vaguely interested in getting a telescope. Some tips, I guess. Aperture is king, so this is an 8-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain. A 32 millimeter eyepiece. There's a 1200 millimeter focal length, I believe, and that allows me to see lots and lots of things. It has a fairly easy and fairly high magnification level, and it allows me to zoom pretty close up on deep sky objects. Smaller aperture, here I'm going to turn this flash off and put up some cool astronomy pictures while I'm chatting. Smaller aperture scopes, although not as good for deep sky stuff, and by deep sky stuff I mean the faint fuzzies, the things that are far away and dim and normally invisible to the naked eye. But the smaller aperture scopes are good in their own right for some of the solar system objects. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, the Sun if you have a solar filter, and of course the Moon are all very easily seen and found in a smaller aperture scope, and a lot of those are worth checking out even with binoculars. Of course, there are specially made astronomy binoculars, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't grab the bird watchers and bring them out and see what you can see. The double cluster is a deep sky object that would be cool in binoculars. Jupiter, of course, because you can see the Galilean moons, and you can watch them dance around the planet from night to night. But if you're interested in getting a scope and you want to experience the best of both worlds, that is the solar system objects and deep sky stuff, I recommend getting something 8 inches or wider. 6-inch scopes, especially with longer focal length, will give you some good hours underneath the stars. But if you really want to get the best out of your backyard, I recommend getting something 8 inches or bigger. Now, usually, I just saw a shooting star. People don't realize how often you can see things like that if you just go outside and look up. Wish I could show you, but once again, these things are faint fuzzies, and I'm holding a phone, not a professional camera in any way. So, get something 8 inches or wider. I recommend for strictly visual stuff, that is no astrophotography, I recommend the Orion XT8. It's a Dobsonian reflector. It's very easy to use. It's just point and look, and it's about $400. You will not ever regret spending that $400. You'll want to get Plossl eyepieces. That's Plossl. Those are the cheapest worthy eyepieces. You can get a whole set of them from Celestron or Orion for between $100 and $300. I say that as if that's nothing, but you have to understand that astronomy stuff is not cheap. It's a rabbit hole you can fall deep into. But assuming you took my advice and got yourself an 8-inch or wider scope, Some of the objects that I recommend getting out there and checking out as soon as you have the availability are the Andromeda Galaxy. The Andromeda Galaxy is viewable with the naked eye. Usually in regular skies it requires viewing out of your peripheral vision, so you look a little away from it and you can see the fairly large, actually it's about as wide as the sun or the moon, fairly large fuzziness, and that is a galaxy about 4 million light years from Earth, or from the Milky Way, our galaxy. 4 million light years. That means that 4 million years ago, the light that is reaching my eyes right now was sent out from that galaxy. It's so large, so immense, that it has 2 satellite galaxies that you can see usually in one eyepiece. So you put the eyepiece, or you point your telescope directly at the Andromeda Galaxy, you see it, and you see 2 smaller galaxies that are orbiting and are destined to get sucked up by Andromeda's immense gravitational influence. The way I like to describe that is the fact that you're looking at 4 galaxies at once, because of course you're looking through the Milky Way and you're looking at Andromeda and its 2 satellite galaxies. I think Andromeda is what's called M31. That's a designation of its place in the Messier list. So the Andromeda Galaxy is the first one. Get out there and check that out. Get out there and look at it with your naked eye, and once again with some binoculars, and you'll just be amazed. The second object, and I'm looking at it right now with my naked eye, is the double cluster. That's 2, I think they're globular clusters. They might be open clusters, because they're certainly not the most dense globular clusters, but it's 2 star clusters that you can see in one eyepiece, and once again you can see it in the with your naked eye. That, I mean, it's like looking at 1,000,000 diamonds dropped on the blackest of sheets. It's just incredibly beautiful. I didn't know what it was or what to expect when I first saw it with my Orion XT8. And I didn't even know what it was. I had to find out. I had to go look it up. I was like, what is this incredible thing that I found? And that's called the double cluster. Another good object, if you're looking for something smaller and a little bit more of a challenge to find, is the Ring Nebula. The Ring Nebula is much, much smaller than either the double cluster or the Andromeda Galaxy, but it's cool because it's a tiny, like, nebulous ring with a star in the middle. You won't see the star in the middle of it unless you have an incredible telescope, but you can certainly see the dense little ring that's up in the constellation Lyra. Let's see what else is really, really cool. Bode's Nebula is another cool one. It's actually a galaxy, even though its name says nebula. And with one eyepiece at that object, you can also see what's called the Cigar Galaxy. So once again, if you count the Milky Way that you're looking through, you can see 3 galaxies at once. Oh, what else? I don't know, it's just incredible. I'm standing out here looking up at the big band of the Milky Way. You can see the summer triangle. Yeah, it's just a hobby that, if you like beekeeping, I can't imagine that you wouldn't like astronomy. Endless curiosity and endless information and beauty and natural wonder, and just everything that excites me about beekeeping also excites me through astronomy. You can have a whole lot of fun splitting double stars. I just saw another shooting star. You can have a whole lot of fun splitting double stars. Our sun is a solitary star, but a lot of the stars you see at night are in fact binary systems. That is, two stars orbiting each other. Some of them are easily split, and by split I mean distinguished from one another through some type of optics, whether it be a pair of binoculars or a telescope. If you're interested in exolife searching, you can find a lot of the stars that we know have exoplanets around them. You can't see the exoplanet, but it is kind of neat to see a star and know that there are rocky worlds orbiting it, just as there are rocky worlds orbiting our sun. So yeah, I mean, get out and look up. It's just incredible. I mean, once you get into it, it just consumes you. And it'll bring you to an existential crisis as well when you realize how insignificant we are. Not just us, but the solar system we are in and the galaxy that our solar system is in. We are all but a small drop in a very, very large bucket. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to constellations other than for finding objects, but of course you can get out, look up, and find all of the constellations that have stories and characters and all types of history around them. Like I said, I don't really pay attention to all of that other than for finding objects. The Triangulum Galaxy is another cool one. Oh, the Whirlpool Galaxy. When I was talking about how Andromeda has two satellite galaxies that it's sucking up, and Andromeda will eventually suck up the Milky Way galaxy as well. The Whirlpool Galaxy is an incredible vision of that happening, and I mean, it looks incredibly like exactly what it sounds like it looks like. Something getting sucked up in a whirlpool. Of course, this whirlpool is not made of water, but made of gravity and the warping of space and time. But yeah, it's pretty incredible. The Orion Nebula. You've sure, I mean, if you've spent any time on science or astronomy websites, you've certainly seen a picture of the Orion. Ooh, I'm looking at the Pinwheel Galaxy right now, which looks like you'd expect it to look. It's a galaxy, spiral galaxy. It looks like a pinwheel. So yeah, the Orion Nebula is incredible. Another tip that I have, whether you're going out with binoculars or a telescope or with your naked eye, is to get the app, whether on your computer or your phone, Stellarium. I recommend it for the phone because you can set it up to where whatever you point the phone at, it shows you what you're looking at, whether that be stars, clusters, nebula, galaxies, or planets. It's an indispensable thing. It's either that or a star chart, and although it's worth it to learn how to read a star chart, Stellarium is the 21st century version. So yeah, like I said, even if you don't own any optics at all, Stellarium makes it worth it to walk outside and look up. I mean, it's worth it regardless of any of that, but it makes it more fun. You can find out information about the objects you're looking at, and incredible. So I highly recommend, once again, if you're into bees, you'll be into astronomy. Spend a few $100s and change your life. You want to go big. If you're that go big or go home kind of person, get a computerized scope. Although getting a manual scope initially will help you understand what you're looking at more. You'll have to be more in tune with where you're looking and what are nearby objects and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to walk outside, set your scope up and align it, and then hit buttons to have objects pop up immediately, then a computerized scope is the way to go. I said in previous videos, and I'll say it here, I have the Celestron Nexstar 8SE out here with me tonight. I also have the Orion XT8, the one I talked about earlier. Differences between those two, although they're both 8 inches in diameter, the XT8 is a reflector, and the Nexstar is a Schmidt-Cassegrain. Those deal with the way each scope gathers and focuses light. There are a bunch of different kinds. Refractors, reflectors, compound scopes like Schmidt-Cassegrain and Maksutov. So yeah, there's a lot to learn. I mean, the learning curve is not necessarily an easy one, but once you get there and you figure out what you're doing with your new toy, as I said, it will change your life. So let me know in the comments if you like this stuff, if you want more. I know I said that previously and I got mixed reviews, but this is, a lot more in depth than just talking about a telescope and showing the fact that I'm taking an image of Jupiter or Saturn. So if you want me to go into more depth, because I could talk for a very long time about this, let me know, and I'll gladly do so. Either way, get out there and look up. Have a good night.